meeting to order on September 3rd, 2020. Please call the roll.
Commissioners Markham,
Here.
Middleton,
Here.
Gershenson,
Here.
McGillivray,
Here.
Quarles,
Here.
Howell,
Here.
Long,
Here.
Howell,
Here.
Zach.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Here's the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes from August 12th and 20th, 2020. Commissioner McGillivray, supported by Commissioner Markham. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say nay. Motion carries. I need a motion for the approval of the agenda, please. Commissioner Gershenson, supported by Commissioner Powell. Any discussion of the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed, say nay. Motion carries. With that, we move on to public comment. And Andrea, do we have any public comment this morning?
Good morning. Currently, your public comment lines are open. You have no callers, and your online submissions, there are no online submissions.
Thank you very much. Seeing that there's no public comment, I'm going to close public comment this morning. Moving on to communications, we don't have any. And moving on to regular agenda, item number 1, Board of Commissioners establish the Oakland Together School COVID-19 Support Fund, an appropriation of $28 million from CARES Act grant coronavirus relief funds. I need a motion, please. Commissioner Gershenson, supported by Commissioner Powell. And with that, I don't know if I have Chief Deputy Hillary Chambers, or if not, I know that I have Deputy County Exec Sean Carlson that to present on this issue. So who's with us? Thank you.
I'll start, and then Sean can fill in the gaps. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're excited about this program. It is modeled somewhat like the support program that you all approved with the cities, villages, and townships. So you'll remember that we allocated $30 million from the CARES Act for cities, villages, and townships, and they have been applying and submitting for reimbursement for that fund since June, and that's going very well. So we're reimbursing them for eligible expenditures, whether it's payroll or PPE or expenditures regarding the elections, whatever is eligible on from the CARES Act, we're reimbursing the CBTs. So this would be similar because, the CARES Act guidance clearly illustrated areas that would impact schools, from the safety and health protocols that they're implementing and what they might need to facilitate compliance with those, and also what they might need to facilitate online learning. So those are big categories that they're spending money on that they would be eligible to submit for reimbursement. So it would work the same way as that. That helps us because then we have all the documentation up front. And we would, of course, as we have with the CBTs, bring over the interlocal agreements and the resolution to the Board of Commission for approval as those reimbursements come in. I will say the other part of this resolution, talks about how the funds would be distributed by school district. And the resolution indicates some factors that would be considered as a way to equitably distribute the 28 million to the school districts. And so it factors in population, the numbers of teachers, the economically disadvantaged, and then the special education student population as well.
Do I have any questions? Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Hillary, does each school or academy know what their maximum amount would be that they could apply for?
They will know once we start to implement the program, and once the once we have board approval and finalize those numbers with Oakland schools. Yes, they will know it. They will know in advance.
Okay, so you'll do the calculation on the 30%, 15, the 35, and the 20. You'll do
Right.
those kind of. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Hillary. I appreciate the conversation last night regarding incorporating the per pupil foundation allowance into the formula. And I did speak with Chair Woodward, and he was interested in looking at that again. I don't have anything ready at this moment, but I am hoping to get some numbers together and have something to go for tonight's board meeting. So I hope that perhaps you would be willing to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Actually, my question is more so to Sean Carlson. It's still in regards to this, but we had a meeting with the Oakland Schools Board last week, and I just wanted to make sure that some of their concerns that they had stressed, a lot of that is pointed out, or Marcia, if you could let me know that a lot of their concerns are pointed out, and or will be this funding possibly could help with that type of stuff that they were concerned about. And if so, I think that's a great thing. But Sean was on that call with us, and I just want to make sure that these are the type of things that will be assisting them with, right, Sean? From the conversation in Marcia. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Commissioner Gershenson can jump in here as well. But some of the concerns that they had pointed out, Commissioner Powell, last week, were actually being addressed and in the process of being addressed by the health department. The major issue, I think, on that call last week was the fact that we weren't able to get the health department on until about 3/4 of that meeting was over. So there's been a lot of things that the health department was in process or executing against. So, but we will work with them, and this certainly will address a lot of the PPE concerns that came up and the questions that came up during that call.
And just to add to that, Angela, I have been in touch with Ms. Finkelstein and referred all her questions to Calandra, who also referred them to Leanne Stafford. So we're waiting for the responses from the health department. And I've also contacted Mike Tim to give us an update on the Wi-Fi on the broadband issue, so we can give the school districts the same information we have. So all that is happening and should be finalized by tomorrow. So I had a very positive conversation with Ms. Finkelstein, and also Deputy Hobbs has stepped in and he's met with them again this week. And I think we're on a much more positive track.
Thank you all, and thank you also, Hillary, for your work and effort in this too. Thank you.
I would just like to suggest that we would get a summary of all those things that are going on with the schools, so that we know that we've resolved those concerns, because the schools reached out to all of us just so that we can all be talking the same language. I saw Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I was just hoping that perhaps I could reach out to Oakland Schools and some other people to help me with the language for the formula for the allocation. regarding the per pupil foundation being a part of that. So I hope I can reach out to perhaps Commissioner Gershenson or somebody that can give me a hand with that. I'm just,
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'll be happy to,
It's
I
been
think.
a while since I've really looked closely at per pupil foundation and K-12 funding. So, but I do believe very strongly it should be a part of the formula, and I just need some help putting the numbers together. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions on this? Seeing none, let's call the roll, please.
On item number 1, Commissioners Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes,
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Colwell,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2. Oh, Commissioner Middleton?
Yes, I'd like that put on the regular agenda rather than consent agenda.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was asked at the last committee. It's going to be on regular.
Yep, okay.
okay, will do. Okay, item number 2, Board of Commissioners establish the Oakland Together Cultural Institution COVID-19 Support Fund and appropriation of CARES Act grant coronavirus funds, relief funds. Do I have a motion? Commissioner McGillivray, supported by Commissioner Gershenson. And let's talk about the arts. Who wants to present? Hillary, do you want to talk about this? Deputy Chief Ward.
Hang on a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Yes, so again, this, I feel like we all, working together, we've covered a lot of the constituencies that have been hard hit by the pandemic through your efforts, on the small business side, on the CBT side, on the school side, on the nonprofit side, childcare, some direct assistance, the food assistance. I really think we've done, we've really covered a lot of the fabric of the county. The one thing that's emerged in recent weeks is that, we really haven't covered our cultural institutions, whether that's a local museum, or, what type of cultural institution or a larger institution like Meadowbrook. We really haven't covered the impact that they felt. And to a certain extent, this is impact that is a bit more like a small business in terms of business interruption and the what's happened because they've been closed or they've reopened at a lesser capacity. So when we realized that, and Commissioner Korkendorfer, he started a conversation with Meadowbrook, and so we had a long conversation with them about the impact. And that I know there's been interest from several other commissioners, Commissioner Gershenson, Woodward, and Taub, and so many of you. And we thought it made sense to allocate a portion of the CARES Act money for these cultural institutions. It would be run more like the small business grants, more like the Chamber of Commerce grant, so that they would receive a grant of a certain size, and all that can be worked out by the oversight committee. But we thought it was kind of an area that we hadn't actually been able to touch yet. Excited about this proposal.
I see Commissioner Long.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So Hillary, on these, I definitely support all these institutions. I am just making sure. So they were not able to qualify for for their staff for the PP, the personal loan from the federal government, or how do we know, how are you going to use a formula for them? And were they not able to garnish any federal money on their own?
Right, that's a very good point. And, you know, there is very strict guidance in the CARES Act about duplication of benefits. And so that would have to be part of the grant application, like it's been part of the small business grant applications, in terms of ensuring that there's no duplication of benefits. So that would have to be factored in as well.
Okay, so that will be on the application. I just want to make sure people are getting the money, if I vote yes for this, that need the money and didn't already have relief and they're, you know, they're okay. Because I'm hearing from bowling institutes now that they're gonna shut down and they need money and they're not opened, and I don't want to support one arts and not something else for people's mental health, you know, so I just want to make sure that that is included on the vetting process on that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this one? Commissioner Middleton?
Yes, on the third, be it further resolved, it said grants awards will be between 10,000 and 50,000. What would happen to a smaller museum or institution that says that they would only qualify less than 1,000? What would happen to those applications?
What do you mean, what would happen?
Well, the resolution says, be it further resolved that the grant awards ranging from 10,000 to 50,000. What happens to somebody that doesn't qualify for 10,000?
Well, I think that the 10,000 would be the lower amount. So depending on the economic impact that the disruption has caused and the plan for the expenditure of the money, which would have to be all detailed out in the application, 10,000 would be the lowest that, are you saying that we should have a lower grant amount as well?
Yes, that rather than having it at 10, I don't know, maybe, do you have a low amount on the other grants that this is modeled after? I didn't think we did. I think you fill out the application and you apply for that amount.
Right.
So, I mean, like Oxford has a museum, and for them to apply for 10,000 would be ridiculous. They wouldn't be able to qualify. So, yes, your question was, do I think you ought to have a lower amount? Yes, you ought to have a lower threshold.
They wouldn't be able to qualify. Just trying to understand your concern. You think that their disruption would only warrant like $4,000 or $5,000, or?
Yeah, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the way the resolution reads, they couldn't get a check less than 10,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe I'll make an amendment at tonight's meeting then.
Okay, are you done, Commissioner
I'm done
Middleton?
with my question. So thank you.
Okay, I have Commissioner Kowal, followed by Long, Gershenson, then Quarles. So Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, excuse me, and to what Commissioner Middleton said, I have the same concern, and I was just wondering, like, do historical societies fall under this cultural definition? It's a question.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, because I know that they haven't been able to have their usual, type fundraisers that they have either. So I was just wondering if they would be included. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's my question.
Okay, now I have Commissioner Long again.
Sorry, that's been answered. I do think we might need a lower threshold. I agree with them that we maybe should come up with something for the smaller institutions in the CBTs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gershenson.
I was going to say that the oversight committee would be aware of any institutions that needed less. I mean, I don't really have a problem if you want to change the wording because you think it would stop some of the institutions from applying. But I'm going to follow Deputy Chambers' lead on this because she's more experienced with the applicants.
Okay, okay, Commissioner Quarles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Deputy, just wondering if it's a possibility of combining like cultures. And my thought is here in Southfield, I know the Mary Thompson Cultural Farm is one that's been challenged, as well as the Southfield Historical Society. Their commonality, of course, is Southfield, and along with arts and culture. Is any thought giving that maybe if there is a likeness, especially the smaller ones, that if they came together and did a proposal, is that a possibility? I mean, there are several of the McDonald House in Southfield, the Berg Center, Berg Historical Center, if 4 or 5 or however many came together with that, is that something that's a possibility?
And they would want to apply together because they do together, or?
I think, well, they do work together, do a lot of collaborations together, but I would think to help meet the threshold of the 10,000, if they came together and fill out an application, is that a possibility of looking at maybe funding it that way? Because each one's standing by themselves.
I would think that could present a whole bunch of new issues, because someone has to be the fiduciary that signs a contract with the county to indicate that, you know, the money is going to be spent in accordance with the application guidelines. So, I mean, I think if the concern is that we have some entities whose budgets are so small that receiving a $10,000 grant would be kind of overwhelm what their operating budget is, then I think that we should consider lowering that dollar threshold, so that a smaller entity whose operating budget is so small that you wouldn't want to provide them with $10,000, then I would support lowering that threshold, or giving the oversight committee an opportunity to design that. So if that's the concern that you might have some entities who $10,000 would be too much compared to what their operating budget is.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, because now you just gave me another thought. Southfield, like many cities or CVTs, has a foundation. Perhaps the foundation can make the ask and then distribute it to the organizations that want to apply for it. Thank you.
I do have Commissioner Gershenson and Long, but I'm going to direct a question to you, Hillary. What threshold, it sounds like you're open to lowering the threshold on this grant, and what threshold would you recommend that we lower it for these smaller cultural cultural institutions?
Well, I mean, I think we have to, we have to be careful in terms of the processing, right? I mean, we all know that, the processing of and Sean, if you have, Sean Carlson, if you have an opinion on this, I would welcome it, since you've run the so many of the small business grants and have given out the small dollar amounts. And if you did that based on their budget or the chambers of commerce, if you think that there's a sweet spot in terms of the lower amount.
On most of the grants related to the economic assistance, as well as the chambers, there's a maximum but not a minimum, allowing us to vacillate there. So that way, that gives the oversight committee, to your point, Hillary, the opportunity that if maybe someone qualify for as much, you could still award them $2,500 or $5,000. For instance, the MEDC grant was up to 20,000, but we wanted to be equitable, and we tried to. I don't think that there was any a recent award recommendation that we made that was over 7,500. We tried to make it meaningful, so there were some folks that were 2,500, 5,000, depending upon whether they had previous economic assistance. But that's just an example of a couple of things that we've done.
So I think that might be some guidance that we could follow to remove the minimum, but not, I don't want to remove the maximum. If anything, I would support increasing it. I do think that there are some of our larger institutions that, you know, really have been hard hit. So I'd like to reserve the ability to give out the maximum award. And that comes from my experience of having talked to them and knowing what types of things they've had to put off since they've been so hard hit. So we can, if you would like to remove the minimum but keep the maximum, we can do that.
Okay, I have Commissioner Gershenson, Long, then Middleton.
So I'd like to propose that we introduce an amendment, and I'd love to work with you, Commissioner Middleton, removing the minimum and just saying grants up to a certain amount. And if you are interested in increasing that amount to 100,000, that's a pretty broad range. We could have that amendment ready for tonight.
So Commissioner Middleton, do you want to work on that with Commissioner Gershenson?
Or we could
I'm
just
on
do
the
the
list
amendment right
and,
now.
Yeah, I'm on the list and I was gonna amend this resolution right here in this committee meeting and to
That's
drop
fine.
the minimum. So I'll wait
Okay.
until my turn comes up.
Okay. Are you done, Commissioner Gershenson?
Well, that's fine with me. If you want to do that right now, we could just drop the minimum. And as Deputy Chambers said, maybe we could raise the maximum. I'm done.
Okay. Okay, I have Commissioner Long next and then Middleton.
You can skip me, they're working on it. I was just gonna say we should do it in committee, not at our board meetings. Our board meetings are longer than your finance meetings.
Okay. Commissioner Middleton?
Yes, and I think my and my amendment's gonna be to drop the minimum. And that may increase the number of people applying, so I'm not anxious to raise the maximum. So I move to amend the resolution by striking the words ranging from 10,000 to, and if you drop those that wording, then it would say the grant up to $50,000.
Do I have a second for that amendment? Is there somebody that wants to second that? Commissioner Gershenson. Any discussion on the amendment? Okay, seeing none, let's call the roll on the amendment.
On the amendment, Commissioners Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Koa,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Zach?
Yes,
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you. Moving on to the resolution as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
On resolution as amended, Commissioners Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Koa,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Zach?
Yes,
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 3, which is the establishment of Oakland Together Schools COVID-19 Support Fund and appropriation of oh, we did that. Okay, forgive me.
I think you're doing the county one.
Yeah, I am. My agenda is, okay. My agenda's out of order, or forgive me. Okay, we are moving into I lost my agenda. I can't get my thing to go back.
You want me to read it, Helene? I have it right here.
This is the approval of the Oakland Together County COVID-19 Pandemic Response Plan and reimbursement of eligible expenses from the Coronavirus Relief Grant Funds. And do I have a motion for that? Commissioner Gershenson, supported by Commissioner Markham. So do I have any, do you want to present that, Sean?
Yes, I'll present that. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to, let me break down this resolution in 3 parts, if I could, just for simplicity reasons. The first part has to do with reallocating funds that we use from our fund balance, from the county's fund balance. So $40.3 million of this resolution has to do with taking care of some of those resolutions that were passed in March and April, when this county leaned in on the pandemic in regards to providing economic assistance to small businesses and nonprofit organizations. The other part, part 2 of this resolution, has to do with taking care of departmental costs that have been incurred and have been weaved into our budget, but are related and eligible expenses under CARES Act from March 1st to July 31st. And that represents $20.3 million. The last portion, $27.5 million, represents a run rate and potential expenses for the county's operations from August 1st through December 30th, which is the deadline, currently the deadline for the CARES Act. So those 3 amounts end up totaling $88.16 million of allocation of the CARES Act. So, and I want to congratulate this Board of Commissioners for leaning in on this pandemic. I was on a call this past week with Guidehouse, who advises us, but they also advise over 25 other counties and organizations and states across the. I was on a call with Miami-Dade County, Cook County out of Chicago, Tarrant County and Dallas, and also the county representing the Houston area. We were a county that leaned in on this pandemic before we were even authorized CARES Act, because we knew it was important for our citizens and our small businesses. So I wanted to pass that on, and that was one of the takeaways from that meeting as we were talking with other major counties. So I wanted to thank this Board of Commissioners for leaning in supporting our county. So, but getting back to the resolution, again, $40.3 million is for reimbursing and reallocating those funds that we utilized. $20 million is for expenses, eligible expenses that have happened, have been incurred, that are eligible under the CARES Act, March 1st to July 31st. And then the $27.5 million is for August 1st through December 30th. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that any commissioners have at this time.
I do want to refer everybody, we did get an Excel spreadsheet as well, showing us the expenses. I found that more clear to look at. So any questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
On item number 3, Commissioners McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Item number 4, Parks and Recreation Commission approval of 2019 Michigan Department of Natural Resources Fisheries Habitat Grant Program Award. I need a motion, please. Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Quarles. And welcome Dan Stencil, our head of parks.
Good morning, commissioners and staff. Thanks for the consideration and the cooperation in expediting this grant opportunity. This item was approved yesterday by the Parks Commission unanimously. Today I'm joined by Melissa Prouse, our Supervisor of Planning and Resource Development, to present the details of this grant opportunity. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Good morning, commissioners. I want to first thank the commission for letting us and the staff for letting us sneak this on kind of last minute, and the DNR sends their thanks as well. This is a grant that we actually applied for back at the end of 2019, and then the grant approval process got very much delayed due to COVID, and we just received the award and the project agreement within the last week, and they asked for a 2-week turnaround time, so we appreciate that very much. So this is a grant from the DNR's Fisheries Habitat Program. The grant award is $121,300 to fund in part the design and engineering for the removal of the Mill Pond Dam. This is a dam that we operate in partnership with Springfield Township. It's adjacent to Rotary Park, which we own in Springfield Township. And that mill pond itself is actually park property. It's just north of the golf course out there. So we've been working on this project with the township for a few years now. We did a full feasibility study looking at all the different options for the Mill Pond Dam, which is failing and in need of repair or replacement. And removal of the dam was determined for a whole host of reasons to be the best option. So that is the way that we're moving forward at this time. So this grant covers 72%, I believe, of the full design engineering cost, which is great. We'll share the remaining match of $47,200 with the township. We have an agreement with them for cost sharing for maintenance and repair of the dam. So we cover 55%, and in this case would be about $26,000, and they cover 45% or just over $20,000. So this grant will help us move forward with that. The process is actually already underway, which the DNR is well aware of and didn't have a problem with. So we're actually coming to the close of that design engineering process, and this will essentially reimburse us for our costs for that project. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do I have any questions about this? Commissioner Cowell, supported, followed by Commissioner Middleton.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Melissa. I've expressed a great deal of interest in the dams in Oakland County and asking for a comprehensive report through our Water Resources Commissioner. So I guess this would be one of those structures. Just curious, what would happen if that dam just failed? And what is the process for removing the dam?
Sure. So the dam right now is classified as a low hazard dam just because of the flow through there, but it also at the same time does not meet the state's 100-year flood guidelines. It does overtop the road. It's right underneath David Road between the Mill Pond and Rotary Park. And in heavy rain and flood events, it does overtop the road, which is not safe and not something that we want to see happen. So that's essentially what we're trying to avoid in the future. So the process of removing the dam, essentially they reroute the flow and slowly drain the water body out, the Mill Pond Dam out, and then the natural stream channel will essentially take its place. So we'll, instead of the Mill Pond Dam, have a natural stream channel kind of with wetlands on either side of it, and hopefully some new opportunities for some trails and some other recreation in that area as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, are there just two riparian owners of that mill pond, the township and the parks? Are those the only two property owners that own the pond?
I'm sorry, it's a little bit feedback.
There is a private.
Can we ask everybody to,
Is the landowners bordering the pond only the township and the park?
Oh, okay. There are a few additional landowners on the mill pond itself. I believe there's one additional, and then on the northern portion of that, kind of where the river flows into the mill pond, there are a few property owners there as well.
Please mute if you're not speaking right now.
Oh, my goodness.
thank you.
Gracious, now we got bells ringing.
Dan, are you frozen?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you get any response from other landowners then?
We did get some concern about the removal of the dam. There actually is a lawsuit that is pending, but Corporation Counsel has advised us to continue to move forward on the project, and the lawsuit, I guess, is going to be settled in federal court.
Have any other questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll, and if you're not speaking, could you please mute? Thank you.
On item number 4, Commissioners Quarles,
Yes.
Powell. Please mute if you're not speaking. Commissioners Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yeah, someone might have hacked into this doing something.
Yeah, that's
Carol,
called.
Melissa, please mute.
caller 7 is making interference. Commissioner Colwell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Zach,
Zach?
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Hey, Chris, did you ask the callers to get off? It's the
Yeah,
callers.
it must be somebody on audio is causing. Okay.
Thank
So
you very much.
very much. Motion carries.
Can we ask all the people that are calling in to please mute their phones?
I think that is much better. Thank you. So now we are going to move into the budget wrap up. And I would like to start this process and turn it over to our Deputy County Exec, Sean Carlson, that would like to make a few remarks before we move into the amendment process.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make sure that I'm addressing any questions or concerns. This has been a long process. I know we're not done yet. We started this back in March. And then in April, we had the estimating revenue meeting, committee meeting with the budget presentation submitted in July, presented July 15th, and all the hearings that you all have had since the middle of July to the end of August. You know, Oakland County is a great place, a special place, and I think one of that reasons, regardless of who's been in the chair here or over in the majority or minority in the past, folks have worked together in a bipartisan fashion to make sure that we've got a great budget. And so we're just continuing on with that practice. I just wanted to make sure that we made some highlights in this budget that might be a little bit different from the past, but difference not a bad thing at all. We wanted to make sure, and I just wanted to reiterate some of the key points with this budget is we want to make sure that revenues equal expenditures, that we're living within our means, no structural deficits at any point in time during the year. So what do I mean when I say that? When we've been using fund balance in the past, in part, even though at the end of the year we might have been better off, we started off with a structural deficit, meaning we were using fund equity to balance out the revenues to equal the expenditures. What we're trying to get to, and we talked about this with S&P and Moody's as well, is more of a truth in budgeting. And our county executive pointed this out as well when he presented the budget, which is making sure that we are as close to possible with our revenues and looking at 3-year trends, and also looking at 3-year trends with expenditures as well, and making sure that we're not underestimating on the revenues or overestimating on the expenditures, and we're trying to come in tighter than what we have in the past. We have a commitment to make sure that we have a healthy and robust fund balance. The 5-year fiscal plan that was outlined in the past had a rapid spend down that we were going to be below 100 million in 2024. I think that was shared by County Executive Coulter graphically as well to the Board of Commissioners, that in fact that is not the case. We laid out some guidance in regards to fund balance and how we would use fund balance for one-time projects for the advancement of our citizens here in Oakland County, but also for the safety and advancement of our employees as well. I know that there was some concerns that were expressed by some members of this committee a couple of weeks ago in regards to revenues. And I had shared at that point in time, let's wait for the revenue estimating conference at the state to see what the state would do with their budget. And what we did find out is, our budget does assume a 1.8% increase in property taxes in FY 2021. This is based on an inflation estimate of 0.8 and an estimated 1% increase in new development. At this point, it appears that the inflation rate will actually be higher. It will be at least at 1.4. We're going to leave our estimates where they're at. So that is a conservative projection on our part. We've worked with Dave Heber on this and Lynn Sonkis as well. What we found out at the State of Michigan Revenue Estimating Conference is things are better than what was originally anticipated. And so the Michigan unemployment claims are down sharply and consumer spending is holding steady. Forecast Detroit 3 light vehicle sales are headed back up. Payroll employment is in a sharp rebound. Private sector job growth is rebounding. State unemployment rate is in a steep decline, and personal income is rebounding sharply as well. So we feel very confident in the projections that we've provided. What I'm most excited about this budget is April and I and the other deputies, and of course from the leadership from County Executive Coulter, are excited about our plan to make sure that there's some more transparency and accountability through key performance indicators that will speak to the value that our Oakland County is bringing to our taxpayers and to our citizens. I know that you've had a lot of hearings over the past month and a half. I think all your questions have been asked and answered, but I did want to provide an opportunity before we got into the amendment list and the other details for the budget wrap up, to just see if there's any questions that remain in the minds of any of the commissioners that we could answer at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, and I'm going to recognize Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Sean, for answering some of those questions. I'm afraid, though, and I still feel that this budget is too optimistic for what we're going to be facing coming down the road. COVID has done a lot to change a lot of things, and including how we do business going forward. I see a lot of challenges that will be presented by that. Probably eventually people are going to figure out that you didn't have to go to an office to go to work, that you could work from anywhere. But that is going to put a huge strain on all these office buildings and commercial properties. We also have bricks and mortar businesses that are going to be closing up for good. We will probably have people that will have a great deal of difficulty paying their property taxes going forward. And as we speak, the state is busy shifting funds out of such funds as the Convention Facility Fund, shifting $10 million out of that to the state general fund. So they're going to be looking to shift whatever funds they can to fill their budget holes. And we got to think about the, court equity fund. We have to think about, I guess, the child care fund. And I just think that in the past, we've always kind of, when we see storm clouds on the horizon, we've battened down the hatches and gotten ready ahead of time. We've been proactive. I don't want to see us facing significant quarterly challenges going forward, which I feel that probably not right away, but we will face significant challenges. And I would rather see those addressed in the here and now rather than waiting till later. I just don't want to go into what the state has done in the past in terms of reacting in crisis mode. There was also a number of things that were brought up in the budget transmittal letter that were not even addressed in the budget itself. So I just feel like I'm not seeing a complete picture here. I could go on and on, but I just, I think that we've not had of course, the usual process. Admittedly, it was interrupted by COVID. That's made it pretty damn difficult. But I still think that I would rather see a much more complete, deliberative, realistic budget. So I don't think I'm going to be able to support this budget as it is. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think it's very realistic, but I appreciate your sharing and expressing that. I think revenues in the past have typically ranged from an $8 to $14 million increase, and then they were significantly underneath where the revenues came. Our revenue projection was $454 million, which is only $4 million above where it was projected in the 3-year adopted budget last year. So I feel pretty confident in regards to our staff that has helped. Those people have not changed in regards to helping put this information together. And I know that we feel like this is a very realistic budget, and there are some things that we're doing to take place. And to your point, if in fact revenues do drastically change, then we need to live within our means. That's the main point of this budget. We'll have to make adjustments, just like we have done during this COVID situation in regards to a moratorium on hiring and so forth. So I think we're ready to respond to that, and I hope that we can all continue to set a standard for other counties that we won't work in a partisan fashion, we'll work in a bipartisan fashion to get there. If you've got some recommendations on what you think the revenues should be, I would hope that you would express and advance those to us. Thank you.
Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Sean, will there be carryover into next year's budget from revenue sharing? The fourth quarter of this year came as COVID money. That's $6 million. Will we be able to use it as COVID, or are we still using our CARES Act money? How does that mix happen?
So are you, Commissioner Middleton, are you referring to the local revenue share? So instead of us getting 6 million or 6.5, we ended up getting 9.9, but it was earmarked for COVID expenditures. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Interpretation of the question. Okay.
Yes. So that 9.9 will have to be utilized for eligible CARES Act. What we just passed earlier in the first half of the Finance Committee meeting had to do with the $219 million CARES Act that we were directly contributed. It does not address, and we haven't addressed the 9.9 at this point in time, to answer your question. I will also share with you that there has been some information that was shared. We'll know more by the end of the month. But there is a belief that there is bipartisan support in DC of extending the time frame from 12/30 to possibly the end of the fiscal year as well. So if in fact that did happen, for instance, the 9.9 could carry on this beyond the 12/30 date, just to provide some information there. So I also want to take this time to invite all the commissioners, and we'll send out an invite. We will be holding our 35th Economic Outlook with the University of Michigan that will be held on September 28th. Typically, that is done in May. We had a conversation with our economist, Gabe Ehrlich and Don Grimes, and very good projections coming from them. And so we feel confident with the economists that we've got a solid budget in place. So.
To continue, when we started in the recession, and I mean, it seemed like we get a lot of criticism for using fund equity, but the administration noticed that because of the recession coming in the future, we were going to have reduced income coming from taxes and things. So we created a fund equity then and projected to use it up by 2020, which we were right on schedule with. And it just bothers me that we get criticized for using that fund equity when we put it away purposely to cover the shortfalls before we came back out of the recession. Are we planning any reduction and putting money away for a phase out of getting out of this situation? Or your comments earlier, are we going to be all done with any economic pressure by the end of the year?
By the end of the year, that were no economic pressures. I mean, I'm sure the economic pressures are still going to be there. There is some rebound that's taking place. There's some indexes that have been provided out there. The state of Michigan is at an 88% index in regards to return to normal. The state of Maine is the only one that has a higher index at 89%. So this stimulus package that we received, thanks to some of our senators and representatives and others that passed the CARES Act, has been beneficial to get liquidity back in the market and to get sales tax going again. And I think that's why we heard at the Revenue Estimating Conference on August 24th, why things are better than what was anticipated. So there's still going to be some economic pressures, but I'm confident at the budget that we've presented. And I'm also confident with the team that's working here too, that if there is a downturn, we'll make the adjustments that need to be made, and we'll pull the belt tight and make sure that our revenues equal our expenditures. That's the key message here.
Do I have any other questions right now? I do have a question for Commissioner Kowal regarding your comments, and I'd like to know, what are we missing as far as you're concerned? You keep talking about this not being a budget that you want to vote for. What are your direct concerns?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. It's continually mentioned throughout the budget that, okay, we're getting rid of historic favorabilities. And I guess it's great to run revenues and expenditures closer together, but I feel at a time that we could be facing rather significant unfavorables, it doesn't leave us much cushion to be able to deal with that. Any number of things can, we're not through with this yet. We don't know where it's leading us. The picture has not been as bad at the state level as we thought, but we're a long way from being done with this. I just don't think, I would like to see some more cushion there so that we can respond to this without having to take drastic measures like layoffs and things like that. I just feel like we're running things a little bit too close to the bone, maybe is a way of putting it, that there needs to be a bit more, perhaps getting to that goal of not using fund equity for operations, perhaps a little bit slower than we're doing it right now.
So I hear your concerns, and I had the opportunity to go on the bond rating, and loud and clear, having the budget done so that we're not using fund balance, the truth in budgeting, they much prefer that. And the fund balance is there. It's our rainy day fund. Should we move into some type of shortfall, we always have that cushion. We're not spending it. We're just budgeting differently. We're not using that as part of the budget. So we can disagree, but I feel that this is a really solid, realistic budget that we're moving into. Any other comments before Commissioner Markham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. I have just a little different take on the budget going forward. You know, I'm new to the commission. This is my first cycle. And I will say that when we went through the budgeting process last year, it really jumped out at me that we were not matching up our revenues with our expenditures. That in fact, there was a big pot of money out here kind of buried all through the county as a cushion. And I understand why that was done. But as a taxpayer, my impression was, why is the county sitting on all of this taxpayer money when we could, for example, be providing services with it? I mean, I continually hear philosophically that we should be cutting taxes or taking tax breaks. And my basic philosophy is we should be providing good government for the right amount of money. So my impression going through the process last year was we had a whole bunch of money, taxpayer dollars, that were just sitting there, and year to year to year to year, I think that's fundamentally wrong. I think it is our responsibility to run a budget that where the revenues and the expenditures year to year make sense, and we do have a good healthy fund balance where if we get into trouble, we can make adjustments. So philosophically, I think it's better to do a truth in budgeting kind of approach to all of this going forward. And I appreciate all the work that's been done to kind of recognize that and make the adjustments. Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, may I make a comment?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, one thing I did want to share too, in April and I, as we visited, and I know the other deputies as they visited different departments, and especially the elected offices, one thing that I think is really important from a transparency perspective is that there were some of the elected offices and some of the departments where money was put in, there was a belief that it was that elected office money, and then at the end of the year when it wasn't spent, it was scooped back up. And sometimes it was redistributed wherever the Board of Commissioners thought it should go and voted on a resolution, which is fine. But what it has done is it has created a culture and an expectation that that is the elected office's money or department's money. And thinking that, oh, you scooped up that money, you put it in my savings account, so now I want to buy this. And that wasn't the case. So I think trying to be more transparent, and that's why we asked for 3-year trends when we sat down with the departments this year. That's why we asked for 3-year trends on revenues, 3-year trends on expenditures to look and try to balance the budget. And I'm not trying to be, Commissioner Middleton mentioned getting criticized. Hey, that was the philosophy coming out of the Great Recession. I understand that might have been the best approach to take at that point in time. All what we're suggesting is where we're at. This is the right shift and the right thing to do. It's transparent. We have every intention to live within our means, make the adjustments, and just make sure that we're being upfront with our elected offices in regards to their dollars, as opposed to backing out 250 or 300,000 and them feeling like, hey, that's my money. And so that has created some animosity or some concerns with some of the different elected offices. So this budget attempts to correct that culture in the first place. So we have a healthy fund balance that has been created. And I fully expect when you get the third quarter amendment very shortly, you'll be pleased about the fiscal responsibility of this administration and how things are being delivered. So hopefully that will change your mind, Commissioner Colwell, at that time. So thank you.
Commissioner Colwell, and then we'll move into budget wrap.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Sean. I will continue to study my concerns, and maybe we can have some conversations in the meantime. So at this time, I'm still uncertain, but I'm hoping to move towards a yes vote by September 23rd. I'm just a little bit hesitant given the unstable environment we're in right now. So we'll have some conversations about that. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to the budget wrap process. We've addressed the prelude, and all of you, part of our processes, we need to move the budget and go through the amendments. So I need a motion that will move the approval of the county exec's budget recommendation for fiscal year 2021, 2022, and fiscal year 2023. And then we will go into the different sections of amendments and do those separately. But right now I need an overall Commissioner Gershenson, and who wants to support the budget? Commissioner Markham. Okay, any discussion on the overall budget amendment right now? Okay, and now, Pam, I should go through all these items and then we take a vote at the end on that motion, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the sections will be basically amendments to what's on the table right now.
Okay, so now I want to refer you, it's in our budget packet, to the amendment list. And what we've done in the past is that we've taken different sections and moved them at a time, at one time, unless somebody wants to pull something out. Okay, so I need a motion on section A to approve those amendments. Who wants to move section A? It includes the quarterly financial, Commissioner Gershenson, supported by Commissioner Markham. Okay, are there any questions? Are you raising your hand, Commissioner Middleton? Okay, Commissioner Middleton.
Yeah, what page are those, that amendment A on? I thought I saw it earlier this morning, and now I can't find the amendment list.
It was emailed to us. It was emailed from Lynn.
Okay, but
Or then forwarded by Mike Andrews.
Yeah, it came about 8 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
It's a separate email. Forgive me. I've got 3 different computers going. I got the amendment. And my phone.
No.
So I understand there's a lot of paper. We don't have the hard copy in front of us. It's a different experience. And
that's what I was saying.
8 o'clock this morning?
Commissioner Zach, I have like 2 computers already. Unless I get on my phone, I can't do emails too. I've got the agenda on one. I've got that. So I don't have that in front of me. That's why I didn't make the motion. So I have to put it on my phone, I guess, which I have
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
at
So it
this
would have been
point-
easier included in the packet. I think it would have been
Do you want
much
me to-
easier for all of us.
you want me to present it or?
If, maybe that's easier. I'll try to grab it on my phone, but I only have 2 computers, so that I'll be on my phone too. So,
So would it be helpful if we put it on the screen? Would that be a good idea?
Yes.
Let's do
Thank you.
that.
The other option is, it came from Mike at 8 o'clock this morning, if you have a computer available.
Okay, so would you like it on the screen right now? Would that be helpful for?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that.
Chris, if you give me presentation rights, I can show it, or if you have it handy, either way.
Thank you.
Now, I understand it is complicated. I have agenda on one, I have, okay, Pam's gonna put. Okay, and then there are more on that. Pam, you're gonna need to scroll through that. This is the, can everybody see it? Okay. That's good.
These were the resolutions that were all passed from the last board meeting.
Any questions about this? These are all things that we have passed in the last couple weeks.
No, thank you for putting it up.
Commissioner Zach,
Yes.
this is Lynn. Just for clarification, these are all of the resolutions, Section A, A1 through A12, are all of the resolutions that have been adopted by the board since the county exec recommendation was presented to you. So it's from 7/1, I should say, from the county exec recommendation until August 20th meeting. So not just within the last couple weeks, but the full time period.
Thank you. I appreciate my expert here. And it's unfortunate we don't have the hard copy in front of us, but, okay, any questions about this? Commissioner Middleton?
Just that Section A in what we've already passed was 7,217,172. Just as a comment.
Thank you. Any other questions about this? Okay, seeing none, Pam, call the roll on Section A.
Okay, on Section A, Commissioners Powell? Commissioner Powell? You still there? Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Boel?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Gershenson?
Yes.
McGillivray?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Powell, are you there?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Okay, that's okay. And Commissioner Zach?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays. Commissioner Zach, you're muted.
Now we move on to item B. And in our agenda, there is a memo to the Finance and Infrastructure Committee from April Lynch and from Lori Taylor about salary recommendations. And that is part of this. And basically, okay, looking at this, what the county exec is, I don't know, April Lynch, I'm gonna let you, we have Deputy County Exec April Lynch, I'm gonna let her explain the personnel related number 2, the county exec salary recommendations that are in this.
Thank you. I also have some of my team members on for some of the other items under B as well. So, but I am the appropriate one to talk a little bit more about the non-represented employees. So as we discussed earlier in the budget process, kind of waiting and understanding where our revenues were going to come in and just trying to wrap our head around the future as it relates to compensation, we are still recommending a 1%, let me back up. We had talked about doing a lump sum equity adjustment, which is a one-time payment to non-represented, as we still continue to take a look at some other areas of compensation. So we are recommending a one-time 1% lump sum for the non-represented employees. I'd like to expand on that just a little bit. So what we're wanting to do here is as you know, in the spring, or actually earlier, more in the winter, we were really taking a look at the salary study. I believe that there's still significant merit to what that study provided. Also, at the same time, we were able to take a look at our budget and understand some of the shortfalls that we had there. So given that, you know, I believe that we still have room and we need to talk more about the comp study. Also, while we were doing that, I was able to take a look at other areas as well. As we know, compensation is just one piece of what we do as it relates to providing a quality workforce here, and benefits is another piece of that. So over the last month and a half, we're working on a benefit survey as well. So what I'd like to do is propose, again, that one-time 1% lump sum, but also commit to bringing a formal 5-year salary and benefit plan to the board by the end of the year. And what I mean by that is one of the things that I want to take a look at is how can we provide more stability and understanding what our budget looks like as it relates to compensation and benefits. I think that we need to take a look not only at compensation, but at benefits. And benefits encompass everything from retirement to our health care. And I think that by having a more concerted effort and a more transparent look at what the next 5 years could look like, it will make decisions a lot easier. I think sometimes I've noticed that we put in a 1% placeholder, if you will, for employee salaries. Well, employee salaries are 65% of our budget. And as we take a look at what future budgets look like, most local government and government in general will always find that 60 to 70% of our budget is personnel. So what I'd like to do is bring forward a more comprehensive plan as it relates to not only the cost of salaries, but also what a 5-year plan for benefits would look like, and also a model of how we would fund that and what that would look like. I know there's been lots of conversations here about how our footprint is changing due to COVID, what it look like as we move forward. I think that this is a real opportunity, coupled with, again, we've said this before, 1/3 of our workforce is retiring over the next 5 years, with about 600 are currently eligible this year. So I think it's a perfect opportunity to take a look at what does that look like. And in the spirit of our 5-year fiscal plan, I'd like to bring forward this late winter or this late fall, a 5-year plan as it relates to what it would cost to and how to fund a comprehensive compensation plan and benefit plan for our employees. So that's why we're looking at a 1% lump sum payment for this current time frame. And then also, I think in my letter, I suggest as well that just to give our employees some idea of closure, that if for some reason we can't come to that agreement, or we aren't able to bring a plan that we can afford, if you will, that the non-represented would go to a 1% salary increase starting in January 1st. So that way we all understand that there is an end to this, there is an end game, that we can move it forward and either come up with that 5-year plan, which I'm feeling very comfortable that I can do, or at least they know that in January they would still get a general increase. And the reason I chose 1% for that general increase is that the majority of the unions have a 1% pay increase already scheduled for this next fiscal year, as well as, and the sheriff has a 2%. So this made sense. And again, I really feel like that we have a lot of potential here, and I believe that salary study continues to have merit. And then I would like to take a look at what our options are to implement that.
Okay, Commissioner Cowell, followed by Commissioner Long.
Thank you, and thank you, April. I'm just curious, what's the difference between a one-time lump sum payment and just a straight increase over the period of a year?
Sure. So when you do a percent increase, that's a general increase. It compounds throughout the years, so it stays with you. And again, with that compensation study still there, I wanted to have time to be able to bring that, to look at that model that we have, take a look at where we've been in the last year as it relates to CPI and things of that nature. Had we not had the compensation study out there, I might have suggested a 1%, but again, that stays with you. The one-time equity adjustment is a one-time only. It does not compound and it does not have a legacy with it, if you will. It's not something you generally want to do that often, but in this instance, it makes sense.
Thank you.
Commissioner Long, followed by Commissioner Middleton.
Thank you, April. My questions is on the lines of Commissioner Kowal. She asked some of it, but then the one-time payment lump of the 1% is due in fiscal year 2021. Would that be the beginning of the year? Do you folks know when you would have that payment out to the employees?
Yeah, I asked for it to be the first quarter, and which would be not before January 1st. The only reason I didn't put a date in is given the transition to Workday and everything. I didn't want to make finance and HR not be able to take the time to process that. So the goal would be that it would come to employees prior to January 1st.
Okay, thank you.
As possible in the year.
Then I have Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, the lumps, will that go to all employees, the representative employees too, because they have Me Too agreements in their contracts?
It would depend. It depends on what happens in January. So if we have a salary study compensation plan, it may look different because as many of them have a wage reopener. So then we would discuss their wages as well. If for some reason that we would go and just do the 1%, then we would take a look at those Me Too clauses. And again, it would depend because right now, many of them already have a 1% and a Me Too. So their 1% would cover that, but it would all really much depend on how we ended and what that looked like. And I just want to make it clear too, or a reminder that part of the compensation plan is reviewing many of those unions' salaries as well, and it would be included in a review of their salary and where they are in the market as well.
Okay, two of our unions have 2% already.
Yep, that's the share.
In their contracts, right? And then, so there'd be a 2% plus this 1% lump sum?
No, because their Me Too is only if it's higher.
Okay. Yeah, but the lump sum is an increase in pay. And then a 2%, then another percent, then their 2% that they've negotiated would come into play. So.
Yes, they're automatically getting a 2% and that's been budgeted.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Not sure I can see anybody else. I can see some of you, but anybody speak up if you want, if you have some questions. Okay, seeing or hearing none, call the roll on amendment B.
Oh, we need a motion. We don't have a motion
I'm
yet.
sorry, I need a motion on amendment B. I thought I had one. I had Commissioner Gershenson with Commissioner Markham, I thought, had also moved this one.
Okay, I must have missed it. Sorry.
Excuse me, this is Lynn. I don't think you can vote on the entire section B yet because you need to fill in the report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so item number 3 and item number 4 on this. Okay, so this is our time that we do vote on elected officials' salary. And often we have gone with the Me Too on that. And we really don't have a Me Too yet because we don't know what's happening with our other employees until we have the salary compensation come before that. So we have the opportunity to talk about this equity adjustment for the countywide electeds. And we would not be included in that because we can't vote on any salary during our term. And this would be during this term. So the recommendation is to take no action on the equity portion, you know, the 1%, the one-time payment presently for the elected officials and the county commissioners. And we can always amend this later on when the compensation study is completed, or if not, we can amend it at the 1% later on that's presented before us. Any questions about 3 and 4? Commissioner Middleton?
Yes, this would have to be done before the end of the calendar year for the Board of Commissioners, correct?
Correct. It has to be done by before the end of the year, and it would be taken up when we take up the salary compensation, or if we don't take up the salary compensation and approve the backup 1%, we would take it up at that time.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions or comments about Amendment B? Commissioner Powell?
Yeah, I had just wanted to make sure, we had discussion in caucus yesterday, to bring to April's attention that, it was brought up that we just make sure with the increases that we have, with what we're, doing for our non-represented employees. From my understanding, there is some conflict in the understanding of what is going on right now. And I was just strongly encouraging, if possible, with our non-represented employees, we let them know what this process consists of. Because from my understanding, they found out that our represented employees have already had a payout possibly or something. And to stop the confusion, I just wanted to bring it to you because some of the employees asked me about it, and it comes off to me that they're just not understanding this process. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Appreciate that. And as soon as this is over, we'll be communicating that for sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on Amendment B? Seeing or hearing none, let's call the roll on Amendment B.
Commissioners Long,
Yes.
Koa,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Stack,
Yes.
and I'm sure you have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, and I need a motion on Amendment C, and I'm going to ask Lynn Sunkiss after the motion to explain what this is so everybody understands these recommended amendments. So I need a motion, please, on Amendment C. Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner Gershenson. Okay, and Lynn, if you don't mind explaining this, please.
Sure. So since your last report, there are 3 new items that appear on section C, C 9, 10, and 11. So the first 1 through 9 have been on your report before, and these are either clarifications or adjustments to resolutions that were adopted or cleanup items. So I'll be more than happy to go through each one individually. C1 is to correct the resolution that was referenced on A3. It's just adding in fiscal year 2023. At the time the amendment was done, 2023 was not open in our financial system. So it's just adding that continuation for 2023. C2, that was a grant that spanned a more than 1 year time period, but the funding for that grant was a lump sum. And the amendment that was presented included both 20 and 21 is both receiving that $4.3 million. So that has been corrected to remove the, I'm sorry, 21 and 22. It's correcting 2022 because the $4.3 million was only a one-time amount that spans 2 years. The same thing happened with C3. It's a $1 million grant, spans multiple years. So the initial recognition is only for 1 year. C4 is to remove $5,000 that in the 2023 budget with our second quarter forecast. Again, at that time, our fiscal year was only through 2022 open in the system, and that was a cleanup item to correct that $5,000 for 23. C5 is just moving some line items around within Parks and Recreation. There's no net change to the bottom line for those adjustments between their various facility maintenance cost centers. C6 for Health and Human Services, that also is just to move budgets between department IDs, no net change to the bottom line. Motor pool had so you'll see on the summary sheet that if it's a zero across, it doesn't necessarily mean there's no budget amendment. It doesn't change the bottom line. However, they are moving between line items. So with C7, that is for the motor pool fund. They had completed a project with IT on their faster fleet management system, so they no longer needed that infotech development budget. So it's adjusting between line items there. C8, this was an adjustment to the Economic Development Corporation Special Revenue Fund to adjust line items based on their historical trends and needs that they see for related to closing fees. And then the three new ones that are new to the report this meeting. C9 is for an internal review of some software licensing needed for the sheriff's office for their scheduling system. They currently have had the scheduling system for about 4 years now, and they have licenses for all of their full-time staff. It would be a great benefit to incorporate their part-time staff to schedule those, the logistics on scheduling those, to more automate it and build in some efficiencies. So again, it doesn't change the bottom line. We're recommending to reduce miscellaneous capital outlay to cover that additional licensing cost for $23,000. Item C10 is just a line item adjustments within the Treasurer's Office delinquent tax fund to account for the transition. At one time, they were doing the development of their delinquent tax project, and that has now moved into operations. So it's just shifting it from ongoing development into an operational ongoing cost. And finally, C11 is to correct item A12. The amount needed to transfer out for the child care out of the general fund side should have only been $152,000 versus $304,000. So that's just a correction on resolution 20333, again referencing A12. And that's all the items that are that were emailed in the packet, and it's my understanding that you have several items that you will be presenting during this wrap-up session.
Any questions about Amendment C? Anything on Amendment C for Lynn? Okay, I don't see any of that. Okay, now, Pam, on my instructions, do I need to have move all these three before we move into other amendments?
You can, and then you can just add amendments, or you can just put all the additional additions in there.
Okay,
Probably better to move the first and then do amended.
okay,
Um,
because my script, I
motions
wasn't
for-
sure. I'm gonna wait, okay. So, we have these sections and now it's time, do we have some amendments to add? Any other, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kowal, you want to speak to item number C, or are you talking amendments?
Amendments.
Okay, I recognize you for,
Okay, yes, I believe that we have two amendments. Commissioner Middleton will be moving the second amendment. The first amendment that I am proposing is to amend the budget to assign fund balance with the fiscal year 2020 year-end report in the amount of $2 million in the Tri-Party Road Improvement Program assigned fund balance with the intended purpose to assist Oakland County cities, villages, and townships with the construction, maintenance, and repair of roads under the supervision, direction, and control of the Road Commission for Oakland County, and assign fund balance in the amount of $2 million in the local road improvement matching program assigned fund balance with the intended purpose to assist Oakland County cities and villages with the construction, maintenance, and repair of roads under the supervision, direction, and control of cities and villages fund balance assignments.
Taylor, my file is on this computer.
Sorry? Yeah, it's on the computer. So,
it's part of our
Page
packet.
25.
yeah. So
It's
fund
page
requires,
26, page 26.
Of our finance packet.
25.
so the rest of it reads, requires separate resolution for program appropriation and the fiscal year 2020 year-end report must be adopted by the Board of Commissioners prior to any separate resolutions being brought forward for consideration. Thank you.
Okay. So
I'll
I
support
have
that
a
amendment.
motion from Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner Long. Questions or comments about this amendment? Commissioner Gershenson.
Yes, how much money is there still in this fund that has not been used?
So, my understanding is that there's about $3.5 million in the tri-party funding, is what I was advised. And there's minimal amount in the local road funding, you know, at this point. So,
And this is for the tri-party?
the tri-party 3.5 million, the local road, is less than $100,000 that has been spent.
Okay, so we are sitting with a balance of $3 million. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kowal, or did you want to speak up, Commissioner?
Yeah,
Middleton?
I wanted to speak to Commissioner Gershenson's. I believe that communities at times save up for multiple years to do a project. So I believe that that balance would be reflective of that process going on. So it's not just 3.5 million, I guess, just sitting there. I think it's has an intended purpose for some communities that prefer to save up several years to do a little bit more, a bigger project. Thank you.
Commissioner Long.
Marcia, this also includes putting 2 million in the local road improvement matching program also.
Well, I can appreciate the local road improvement, but to put more money when we've already been talking about spending, we've already been talking about concern about the budget, and to now put more money into a fund where we have $3 million at this point, it seems a little contradictory, hypocritical. The criticisms that have been levied, this plays right into it. We've got money in there. I don't see supporting adding more money at this time.
Any other questions or comments about this?
Again, Madam Chair, I just want to point out that this money is there because communities has set aside that money for a number of years to use for projects. That's why it is there. So it's that to deny other communities to have their projects going forward is what's being discussed here at the expense of those that have chosen to save up instead. So now we're prospectively denying other communities from accessing funds to do their projects. That's what I'm hearing here.
Okay, so I recognize that the money sitting in the tri-party is possibly accumulated, but I do find it curious that Commissioner Kowal is concerned about the budget and that it's not fiscally conservative enough. And now you're proposing another $4 million for roads. So it just doesn't make sense to me, at this point. So with that said, any other comments? Seeing none,
Commissioner Zach, this is Lynn. I just wanted to confirm that $3.5 million is for prior allocations of tri-party funding, and the Road Commission does keep track of that, and they know how much for each community by year has been accumulated. So it's just a matter of if that doesn't happen, those that they would still have that balance for the older years, but anyone who has used their tri-party monies in the past would not have any funding going forward. So I just wanted to clarify that it is for the accumulation of past allocations of the program, where the local road program has fully utilized it since over the last 3 years.
Thank you for the explanation, Lynn. And I'm going to recognize Commissioner Cole.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I think that you can all agree that that this is a very, very important program to our locals, and they've come to rely on it. Yes, I am concerned about larger things in the budget and trends that might possibly be going on. I am apparently being accused of being hypocritical here, which I really don't appreciate. This is a $2 million program that leverages funding between the Road Commission and our locals. And I think it's a very productive program, and it would be a mistake not to fund this again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this amendment? Seeing or hearing none, please call the roll.
I propose C12, Commissioners Kowal,
Yes.
Markham,
No.
Middleton,
Yes.
Gershenson,
No.
McGillivray,
No.
Quarles,
No.
Powell,
No.
Long,
Yes.
Zach.
No.
Madam Chair, you have 3 yeas, 6 nays. Failed.
Amendment fails. Moving on to, I have another amendment, and I want to recognize Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, the amendment I have is on page 25. It's number 2 for Elaine Kowal, but I'm taking it up. A budget amendment, Finance Committee Amendment, Section C, to amend the budget to assign fund balance with the 2020 year-end report of $250,000 in the Board of Commissioners Public Accessibility Improvement Assignment Fund Balance, with the intent and purpose to upgrade the Board of Commissioners Annex with an enhancement necessary to allow citizens of Oakland County to participate in their local government operations through the use of modern technology. Fund balance assignment requires a separate resolution for program operations, and I move the adoption of that resolution.
Okay, and I need a second for that. Okay, Commissioner Kowal. And do I have some discussion on this one?
Yeah, it's just that our facilities have been in need of repair. I mean, there was a time when Chris had to go around looking for one of the mics live for the public to be able to comment. And we're talking transparency and then make them jump through a bunch of hoops. That's just not acceptable. So this upgrade, and it includes a lot of upgrades within the commission. So.
Okay, do I have any other questions or comments about this one? Commissioner Quarles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, to you, through you to the maker of this resolution. I'm not clear. What is he trying to do? What is the purpose or the intent of this resolution?
Madam Chair? Yeah.
Please explain.
Okay. There's, in the Board of Commissioners auditorium, we don't have the capability to use all the technology that's available to help when people are in public comment when we're back in the facility. We're assuming that we're going to get back into the facility. And with that, we need to upgrade the audio and video technology that's available in the auditorium. And the number is an up to number. So, and when a specific upgrade comes with a cost figure, that has to be a separate resolution voted on by the commission. So this just puts it there that then they can write a resolution to come to the Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Any other questions? Or Commissioner Quarles, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I can appreciate transparency, but I don't think at this time this is a resolution I will be supporting.
Okay, are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So I want to address this. In theory, I think it's a good idea, but I would like to ask Commissioner Middleton, can you be more specific about what technology, what's it look like, before I vote on it?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Chris Ward to, because he's the one that has to work with these inadequacies that we have. So, Madam Chair, I would ask that resign my time to Chris Ward.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Middleton. I've only had a very brief conversation with Commissioner Spiz, who is the initiator of this concept. I believe he and Commissioner Woodward have had some conversation. I'm not really prepared to respond to his full concept here. It may be best to put this aside if you don't mind. I hate to ask Commissioner Middleton that, but I really don't know the full concept. I can't really speak to all of the ideas in the proposal because I think Commissioner Spiz is the one who is the initiator of it. I can give you a list of some ideas that we have at the staff level, and we've been working with the IT department, and have been working through that process. But I don't know if it would be appropriate to go through a whole list of items. We have already gotten your approval, and we have a project underway. I believe that was a $60,000 to $70,000 project, and that was about maybe 6 weeks ago or so. That will handle the very immediate concerns that need to be handled. There's some longer term, maybe medium term issues that need to be handled. So, you know, if it is, you know, the will of the body and okay with the members of the finance committee, if we could just set this aside and have the conversation continue and maybe deal with this on the board floor, if you don't mind, that would be my request.
Commissioner Middleton, do you have any other comments? Commissioner Quarles, Commissioner Middleton, do you want to speak?
With Chris's request, I move to withdraw my motion.
Okay, and then the second will withdraw it. Okay. Moving on, Commissioner Quarles, did you want to say anything about that?
No, not since it's been withdrawn.
Okay.
Thank you.
And in our packet, it talks about Commissioner Zach. I'm going to ask Pam, I have an amendment C that I'd like to put up there. If I send it to you, Pam, the language, if you can put it before everybody, and then I'll read it off. Thank you. It's on the landlord mitigation. Okay, so this is Amendment C, to assign fund balance with the fiscal year 2020 year-end report in the amount of $105,000 for a landlord mitigation program with the intended purpose to provide funding for Oakland County's affordable housing programs. Fund balance assignments require a separate resolution for the program appropriation, and the fiscal year 2020 year-end report must be adopted by the Board of Commissioners prior to any separate resolutions being brought forward for this consideration. And let me explain, there was a resolution that had been presented by Commissioner Jackson talking about this type of program previously that we haven't acted upon. As the chair of the Community Home Improvement Citizens Advisory Council, we had an affordable housing subcommittee. And one of the recommendations from that subcommittee was to institute this landlord mitigation program. This is a program that has been run successfully in multiple different cities, Portland being one example. And what it does, it's like an insurance policy. It says to landlords, please rent to lower income, maybe riskier tenants, you know, some of your housing. And we will make sure that if there is any damage, that we will make sure that the security is, you know, that damage is made whole, you know, that you get the security deposit. And it's not used often, but it has helped landlords rent to lower income people. So it's part of our toolbox of moving into addressing some affordable housing issues. And I know that, you know, our department is going to come back with, you know, we moved the Community Home Improvement Department into health, and that there will be later recommendations of things that we can do. Some of our funding from part of our plan is moving toward more rental assistance. This is just another tool in the toolbox. So I move this, and I need a second for my amendment, please. Commissioner Gershenson, and I'm going to recognize Commissioner Long.
Okay, Commissioner Zach, I just would like to say, I don't know enough about this, and I do not want to emulate Portland at Oakland County. I do not think it's run very well. So I'm going to vote no on this, and if I can find further information, if it gets in the budget, that would help. But I do not want to use Portland, Oregon as one of our examples of anything run well. Thank you.
Okay, and remember that this particular appropriation will become, you know, these will come before the Board of Commissioners. Other questions or concerns, and we'll see that we can get you some, I will find the information and get it to you. Any other questions or comments on this amendment? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
On the amendment proposed C12, Commissioners Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
No.
Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell, Howell,
Pass. Pass.
Cass, okay. Long,
No.
Koa,
No.
Powell,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 3 nays.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now I need a motion to move the budget as we've amended it. And with these, all the amendments. So I need a motion for that, Commissioner Markham. And I need a support, please, Commissioner Quarles. Any discussion on this is the budget as amended. Did you want to speak, Commissioner Middleton?
Yeah, yes, have we voted on, item C with the new amendments put in?
Yes, we did.
Pam, did we vote on that?
Oh, as amended, C as
Yes.
amended?
Yes. That was the last vote I thought we just voted on the.
You're right. We did just vote on that particular amendment, so yeah, we should have a roll call on
Oh,
C
thank
as
you.
amended.
Thank you, Tom, for being on top of it. Okay, let's backtrack and we're going to take a roll call vote on item C. Thank you, Tom.
Commissioners Koa,
No.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
No.
Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
No.
Zach.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas and 3 nays.
Thank you. And now we move on to the whole budget as amended, A, B, and C. And I have a motion from Commissioner Markham, and then I had a second from Commissioner Quarles. Is there any discussion on the budget as amended? Okay, C. Yes, Commissioner Quarles.
I just like to give a compliment to the staff for the effort that they put through and coming up with this budget between the administration and the commission. It was a lot of work and I really appreciate what they did. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Beautiful statement. And I want to also commend everybody working on this, all of the commissioners. This is a different experience doing this virtually with all the technology and papers. And so thank you, our staff, the executive, all of the staff for doing this. I appreciate it. So let's call the roll.
On the budget as amended, Commissioners Middleton,
No.
Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
No.
Koa,
No.
Markham,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
I'm sure you have 6 yeas, 3 nays.
Now I'm going to move that to authorize a public notice and a public hearing for the September 23rd, 2020, at 5:15 p.m. I need a motion to move that. Who wants to move it? Commissioner Quarles, supported by Commissioner Gershenson. And then I need a roll call to move this public notice and public hearing for September 23rd, 2020. Any discussion
Commissioner-
on this? Oh, wait, any discussion before we move? No? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioners Gershenson,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long. Commissioner Long? Colwell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Long, are you still with us? Zach?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Is there any other business to come before finance today? I want to thank everybody for hanging in there, all that you do, and now we will vote on the budget on September 23rd. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to close Finance Committee.